In this video tagged up above, we talked about the events and locations of the Battle of Toba-Fushimi.
During the battle, we see the Shogunate forces fall back repeatedly and are even abandoned by their allies.
Why? Was there something else at play? Well, the reason may be lost on most in Japan today, but the people living at that time clearly understood the historical significance of what was happening and the message that was being sent. In this video, we're going to talk about the real reason of Aizu's retreat during the Battle of Toba-Fushimi. As a recap, in case you didn't see the last episode, Shogun Tokugawa Yoshinobu declares war on the Satsuma clan.
On January 2nd, 1868, 700 men depart from Kyoto Castle, walking up the Toba-Kaido Road. Next day, at the checkpoint gate outside Toba, Satsuma was waiting for the 700 men with guns and cannons pointed at them.
What was Yoshinobu thinking declaring war on Satsuma? Possibly in his mind, he was sending troops to quash an insubordinate clan for going against his authority. But Satsuma was on the side of the emperor, and the imperial court thought that Yoshinobu was being insubordinate to the emperor.
With the emperor being higher in rank than the shogun, the question became, was Tokugawa Yoshinobu, after surrendering his power to the emperor, now going back on his word and has decided to attack the emperor after all?
This is actually a topic of some debate. For me, I don't know what he must have been thinking. He does write about the events in a diary, but then does he write to save face or does he write the truth? Getting back, the imperial court sees Yoshinobu attack Satsuma, even though Satsuma fired first, and so the imperial court decides to get involved.
They call on Ninnaji no Miya to the imperial palace, and he is sworn in as general of the imperial army.
Ninnaji no Miya is given the sword of the emperor and also a certain item that has not made an appearance in 500 years, the Nishiki no Mihata, which is the imperial standard.
Ninnaji no Miya takes the sword and flies the Nishiki no Mihata ahead of his escort. They leave the imperial palace and descend upon the fighting happening on the Toba-Kaido Road. When the Aizu troops see the Nishiki no Mihata, they frickin' flip out of their minds. Many men throw down their guns and run for it. The Nishiki no Mihata continues on to the shogunate-owned Yodo Castle, where we said before Yodo Castle falls to the imperial army. The standard then continues on to Osaka Castle to meet up with Yoshinobu. But knowing he was now in a lot of trouble with what he had started, Yoshinobu made a run for it. He jumps on a ship and sails off for Edo.
So, it was a banner that caused the battlefield to clear as fast as a nest of discovered rats. But it was not just any banner. This was a legendary banner that was supposed to never appear again. What's this all about? Let me explain. Around the end of the Edo period, there was a political movement called the Sonol Joy. They were all about revering the emperor, overthrowing the shogunate, and restoring the emperor's power as ruler of Japan. They were also all about stories about warriors and scholars demonstrating their undying loyalty to the emperor.
And one of these heroes, absolutely idolized by the Sonol Joy, was a warrior who appears in the Taiheki. This was a big deal. Saigo Takamori visits his grave, and Sakamoto Ryoma went with Katsukaishu to visit a shrine in Kobe called the Minatogawa Shrine, which is dedicated to this hero.
We're talking about Kusunoki Masashige. What did Kusunoki Masashige do to gain such notoriety in the Sonol Joy? Well, Kusunoki Masashige was a historical or a legendary figure that appears towards the beginning of the Taiheki, a war chronicle that's published in 1370.
Kusunoki Masashige was originally a warrior of the Kamakura Shogunate, but did not like the corruption that was going on in the government. In the Battle of Chihaya Akasaka Castle in 1333, he betrays the Kamakura Shogunate and declares his loyalty to Emperor Go-Daigo. For his reward, he is allowed to fly the imperial standard in the battle. Against this standard, the Kamakura Shogunate falls.
Okay, that's fine and great and everything, but what did this actually tell the Aizu troops who saw the legendary standard on the battlefield? In the whole of Japanese history, the Nishiki no Mihata only appeared when the emperor went to war with the shogun. This has happened a total of 3 times.
The first time, the emperor failed and the shogun continued to rule, but in the second time, Kusunoki Masashige had the standard and he won. The Kamakura Shogunate fell and the power was given to Emperor Go-Daigo.
So, the Tokugawa shogunate absolutely understood the context. It was the emperor, not Satsuma, who was fighting against the Tokugawa shogunate. However, what if the shogunate retaliated? The imperial side officials were aware that despite the fall of the Kamakura shogunate, it gave rise to the Ashikaga shogunate. This meant that the Tokugawa shogunate or some other shogunate could come back if the issue was not completely dealt with.
This really scared the pants off of those officials, especially Saigo Takamori. This is why he goes after Yoshinobu after the Battle of Toba-Fushimi. He was resolved that the shogunate needed to be completely eradicated or Japan would face another coup.
But getting back to the Battle of Toba-Fushimi, in that moment in January 1868 when the Nishiki no Mihata appears, everyone on that battlefield most definitely remembered Kusunoki Masashige and his battle at Chihaya Akasaka Castle as told in the Taiheki. And for the Aizu, they were destined to be on the losing side. Those poor men just following orders found themselves traitors against the emperor. That was then, but now in the present day, the legends of the Taiheki are more or less lost to the people of Japan. When I was researching for this episode, I couldn't find anything in bookstores about Kusunoki Masashige or his battle at Chihaya Akasaka Castle. The young reader's history manga is also pretty cut up in this era. This was not the case from the time up until just about after World War II. The Taiheki is still so very important to the people of Japan that it's even taught in schools.
Rather than learning about the enemy, Shogun Ashikaga Takauji, the education system focused on Kusunoki Masashige. Shogun bad, emperor good. But now things have changed. Shogun good, emperor bad?
School children today read about Ashikaga Takauji rather than Kusunoki Masashige. So what caused the change? Well, from what I was told, the Taiheki may not be actual history. There may have been some copying and pasting going around from more popular Chinese stories, causing the school textbooks to reject Kusunoki Masashige and his famous battle as legend and not historical fact. We do know that Ashikaga Takauji is a real historical person, but we can't say as much about Kusunoki Masashige, and so he gets erased. Or in more present-day period appropriate terms, cancelled. So that's why Aizu repeatedly retreated and was abandoned by its allies. The Nishiki no Mihata appeared on the battlefield, telling the Aizu troops that they were fighting with the emperor himself. It also sent the message to Aizu troops that they were facing defeat, as told in the legend of the Battle of Chihaya Akasaka Castle, as if Kusunoki Masashige himself was descending upon the battlefield to destroy the shogunate forces and restore power to the emperor. Ooh, knowing your history can be pretty terrifying, if it even is actual history. But that's all I have for today. See you next time.